Test. It's on. Good evening, sorry. Hello. This is a board meeting of the Hamilton County Commission. This is our regular legislative meeting, 2/13/2025. But we are in Anderson Township tonight. This is a new look for us. We have decided this year to take the show on the road, if you will, and go and visit different communities quarterly so that not only we can get out in the community with our meeting, but also interact with the constituents throughout Hamilton County and hear from you if you have anything that you would like to convey to the county commissioners. So I do have, if you would like to say anything, there are speakers cards in the hallway. I do have one speaker's card, but if you have anything to say, please feel free to fill one of those out and we'll be happy to hear from you. But in the meantime, I'll call the meeting to order and then we will hear from Anderson Township. So we start our meetings with silent prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. So please join us in silent prayer. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I am going to move that we approve of the minutes of the previous session.
Second.
Commissioner Dreehouse?
Yes.
Commissioner Summer-Dumas?
Yes.
Thank you.
Reese is
Oh, Reese is
Commissioner
here.
Reese?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, so as I said, we're in Anderson Township. We're thrilled to be here. Thank you for hosting us. Very generous of you to have us out here in the evening. I know it can be inconvenient for those that aren't used to coming out to meetings in the evening, but we're thrilled to be out here. So we've got a county commission, or a trustee. I don't know if that's a promotion or demotion, Josh, but anyway, we've got a township trustee. Josh Girth is joined us. So Josh, I don't know if you or if Vicki is going to say something. Vicki Earhart is the administrator out here, and so I don't know if you have anything prepared. I do want to say we've had a tremendous partnership with Anderson Township, as we do with many of the jurisdictions throughout Hamilton County, and so you all have taken advantage of a lot of our recycling grants, about $70,000 per year over the last few years, and we've also done some ADA ramps and sidewalks in this community, and the total being about $406,000. So the partnership only works when you all are part of that partnership. So thank you for what you do, and I don't know who would like to say a word, but please come up and brag about Anderson Township.
Good evening. Thank you all so much for being here with us today. We really appreciate the commissioners coming to our venue to speak to our residents and to listen to all the good things that we've got going on in the township. As you mentioned, Trustee Vice Chair Josh Girth is here. Our Fiscal Officer Brian Johnson is going to be joining us here shortly. On behalf of Mrs. Loston and Mrs. Stone, they were unable to be here tonight, but they are also appreciative of your taking advantage of meeting with our constituents and your constituents. Wanted to talk a couple of things about economic development here in the township. In 2021, you may recall that we came before the county commissioners to talk about two CRAs, community reinvestment areas. The first was for Vantage at Anderson Town Center, which is the apartment complex just to the south of this building. I'm sure you saw it when you were driving in. It's 224 luxury apartments, and those apartments will be opening in the next month or two. The lowest level of the parking garage is 124 public parking spaces that will be available for overflow parking for this facility and also for metro parking. That development occurred. That used to be Anderson Center Station, or Park and Ride. And over the years, when we saw more and more demand for development and economic growth in downtown Anderson, what we refer to downtown Anderson, we saw that the highest and best use was to look for opportunities to develop that parcel. So we went out with a request for a proposal, and we received 4 different proposals. Our Board of Trustees landed on Hills Property Development, which is the Vantage development that you see there now. Those 224 units will provide shoppers to Anderson Town Center, to all of our restaurants and businesses in the community, and therefore improve not only the tax base for Anderson Township, for the county as well. The second CRA that we requested was for Skytop. That is also an apartment community that is down near the Beachmont Levee on Beachmont Avenue. It is designed in an Art Deco manner to kind of mimic what is going on at Lincoln Airport. We're excited about some of the improvements there as well. But that replaced the former El Rancho Rankin Motel and some Remke and other developments that were there that were not fully utilized by the community. That is 361 apartments, many of them studio apartments or one-bedroom apartments. And since that apartment development opened last year, we are also seeing redevelopment down there in that area of the township. For example, Wawa is going to be opening a new gas station convenience store there, and the current United Dairy Farmers, which is down there, is going to be redeveloping as well. It also provides a connection to the Little Miami Scenic Trail. So neither of those projects would have been possible without the approval by the county commissioners of those CRAs. So we thank you for that. We appreciate it very much. As far as just ongoing communication with the county and our interaction with the county, I won't go through every single person at every single department that we deal with, because we've had, as you said, a long-standing agreement with the county, a long, great working relationship. Jeff and Holly and I have known each other for years. They call me, I call them. As far as our agreement with the county sheriff, this township has contracted with Hamilton County Sheriff's Office for more than 5 decades. We are currently finalizing an agreement to continue that relationship for another 3 years. So that will be coming before my Board of Trustees and the county commissioners here shortly. Also with the Hamilton County engineer, we have engaged in bi-monthly meetings where we talk about projects that we can do jointly. As Mr. Beck said, we are currently working on talking about river flooding that we anticipate this coming weekend, but also things like the 5 Mile and I-275 interchange, where we're looking to improve traffic flow, because since our daytime population is increasing with all the economic growth, we're seeing additional traffic concerns there. So we've been working through a number of different traffic patterns, trying to determine the best situation and to improve that gateway as one of the main entrances to the township. We're working closely with the county engineer on that. As far as Hamilton County Public Health, the Board of Township Trustees actually directed our opioid settlement payments to Hamilton County Public Health as our public health agency to assist with harm reduction. We've also recently had public health out here to do some training as far as point of dispensing, should the need arise for pod training with staff that we have here in the community. As our staff are turning over, public health has been a tremendous asset to help us keep them trained and ready for any emergency. We also have an agreement with public health, a memorandum of understanding for them to utilize our emergency operations center, which is located in the lower level of this facility, as a backup should it be needed. As far as emergency management and homeland security, we participate in many of the activities, the Partners in Preparedness, the threat and hazard identification program that's coming up in April. And we are also working with them to create a brochure as far as ensuring our residents are ready for any emergency that may occur, listing how to prepare an emergency kit, how to access information for folks with disabilities to make sure they're prepared, and accessing the ready.gov website. That brochure will be located in our next edition of Anderson Insights that is mailed to every resident and business in the community. So those are just a few of the things that we do in connection with the county. We very much appreciate your support and the relationship that we have with staff. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I neglected to have people introduce themselves on the dais, so let me get to that very quickly. And Christy, we'll start with you.
Christy Rischel, Assistant Clerk.
Leslie Hervey, Clerk to the Board.
Stephanie Summerall Dumas, Commissioner.
Alicia Reese, Hamilton County Commissioner.
Jeff Aludo, County Administrator.
Patrick Dressing, Assistant Prosecuting Attorney.
And I'm Commissioner Denise Driehaus. Thank you again. Thank you both. And I do want to recognize that Dee Stone, who is a trustee here, serves on the One Ohio Foundation. And so she has been an adamant supporter of the work. And so I'm glad that that relationship is reciprocally beneficial for both of us. I do have one speaker's card. And so I am going to go to that. Public comment, as you can see, is the next item on the agenda. So Bruce Burno, you have the pleasure of the floor for 2 minutes.
I know there's a long line of speakers. Am I supposed to hit the timer? Or? Yeah, how about that? Great. Again, my name is Bruce Burno. I'm an Anderson Township resident. I'm also a board member of Green Umbrella, the regional climate collaborative. So first, I'm here to thank you. Hamilton County government's been a key leader on the regional climate action planning process. With that EPA-funded process now on hold due to the federal funding freeze at the federal level, we want to encourage Hamilton County to continue its work planning for reducing emissions and preparing for the impacts of climate change, so that our own operations in the county's communities can be resilient. Second, I am here with a request. Green Umbrella has changed its membership model in the last 12 to 18 months to a simpler, all-encompassing one annual fee, and Hamilton County has not renewed its membership. Green Umbrella previously had an a la carte membership where there were separate services for different fees and programs, and this has been simplified to include a leading membership level of only $5,000 per year, which entitles the member to the complete menu of all the Green Umbrella services, including the opportunity to qualify for a subsidized climate fellow. I've only been a board member for a little less than a year, but I understand Hamilton County membership issue has really been one of cost accounting, that you used to pay for different services and programs, like from different departments, like $1,000 here or $2,500 there or something. But now no one source seems to be able to come up with the $5,000 all-inclusive in their annual budget, which would really cover all the departments. So since this appears to be kind of an administrative accounting issue, I'm just here to ask either one or all three of you to follow up on this issue and hopefully endorse Hamilton County's membership, continuing membership in Green Umbrella, and see what's happening here with the payment process for the membership renewal. We've had a great mutual long-term relationship. But somehow the train got sidetracked. Somehow something's gotten lost in the shuffle, so forth. So since you're out here in Anderson Township, I appreciate the opportunity to have you ask if you could address this matter. Again, thanks for coming to Anderson Township and the best of the East. So,
Oh, there we go. Yeah, thank you for bringing that to our attention.
thank you.
Appreciate it.
I did leave 3 membership brochures with the
Yeah.
clerk for you to see. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I don't have any other speakers' cards. Is there anyone else that would like to address the commission? If not, we are going to move on to comments and motions of the commissioners. I do have a by-leave that's related to Anderson Township, but I'll hold it until I get to my comments. Commissioner Reese. Oh, I'm sorry. Commissioner Dumas. No, my bad.
Okay. Okay, thank you for your comments. Where did the Green Umbrella guy go back? And this, I was just getting ready to ask about the benefits, and you have a great summary of the benefits on there for membership. Thank you so much. Okay, I just have a few comments. Since we last met last Thursday, I've had 3 additional AI trainings, and they continue to be very exciting, I think, for our agency, for our county, something we need to really look into as it relates to guidelines and procedures. So I'm hoping that I'll bring something out of that Leadership Academy that other people will want to be a part of it. I also participated in the Visit Cincy executive meeting on Friday, and I attended the town hall meeting at Lincoln Heights on Monday. It was 3 hours and 15 minutes, but a lot was said, a lot was expressed, and I think it was good for the community and also law enforcement. I also attended the Investment Advisory Board meeting on Wednesday, and then this morning there was a Southwest Workforce Council Award program, which I participated in as a judge, and then today I handed out the awards, so it was very gratifying, and they were excited. The winners were very excited. And then the OKI executive meeting today, lots of work going on as it relates to transportation, and they're still talking about grants and funding, and we'll continue to follow that train of thought until things are any different. So lots of grants for infrastructure. And lastly, unless you haven't been watching the news, there was something that happened in Lincoln Heights, Evendale area. Neo-Nazis were there, and there was a huge disturbance, and you've probably been hearing about it all week and all this week, and it's something we can't ignore. But I had a revelation, and I just wanted to share it with the people here. And it says, I thought about all the disturbance and how we were saying people could have done things differently. Maybe we should have handled it better. It should never have happened. This is 2025. But then I had a revelation, the miracle on the overpass. And on Friday, there were 5 groups on the overpass: residents, sheriffs, Evendale officers, and neo-Nazis. They were all up close, face to face, not some inches away, some feet away, some yards away. And the children were also involved. It was a time when they get out from school and they were on their buses. And on that Monday night meeting, one of the young men who was on the bus talked about how afraid he was. And so I say the Nazis were so close that the residents took the swastika flag and burned it. The emotions were at the highest points that you can never believe. As you look at the videos every day that keeps running, the emotions were so high. And I can't imagine all the guns that were out there during that time among the residents, among the sheriffs, among Evendale police. I mean, 50, 60 guns were out there. But how many shots went off? None. How many people were physically injured? 0. We can't take that for granted. What could have been 100 times worse did not happen. We could be up here tonight giving our condolences to parents and sheriffs and families, but we're not doing that. We're not doing that. It was a miracle on the overpass. I know that miracles still happen, and that's what happened on that day. That's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Reese.
Thank you very much, and thank you to all those who've come out today in Anderson Township. Thank you for the presentation of the partnership and funding and support and utilizing services together to move Anderson Township forward with the vision of the township. I'm looking forward. I know there'll be a by-leave that Commissioner Driehaus is putting forward that I fully support as it relates to, both of us came out of the State House, so we know how crazy things can get up there and how they're always coming after local governments. I was on a local government committee, so you know it was a tough fight. But certainly support the resolution that she's going to present, because there was a promise and commitment made as it relates to marijuana proceeds, and it's wrong to have a commitment made and agreement made, and then you come back and say, well, now we're going to keep the money. And that's why I always have a hard time with the State House, because anytime they get their hands on the money, they always figure out a way to try to keep the money and not let the money come down to the people. We in Southwest Ohio have always had a fight to get our fair share. So I remember the former governor making a joke about me when I would show up. He says, there goes that Reese, always talking about the fair share down in Southwest Ohio. I said, absolutely. So I'm happy to support the resolution. I did get a call from the current governor office. They have a new person, I guess, that's going to be handling this area down here, and is looking to meet with me and say, hey, I want to know some things that are important to you. And I said, we got a long list, and one of them is that we have to get our fair share of the local government funds to help us on the ground here. So looking forward to supporting that resolution. Also, and it was very good to see you vote on certain things, but then to be able to see it. And as we're coming in, seeing these projects come up out the ground, no longer is it a graft that we see, you know, because normally we were meeting on Zoom when this project came forward, and it was like, here's the graft, and here's where it's gonna look like, and here's the street. And to actually see it in real time come up out of the ground and pass it and look at it, you get a much better picture than you do when you just look at it in the graph. So I just want to say congratulations and thank you for all the hard work. I also want to say that I did meet with, I also spoke today at the Southwest Ohio Regional Workforce Board. Got a chance to speak at the Champions Awards and also highlight how tough things are going to be as it relates to workforce. It was just interesting that they had the event today, and at the same time, we've got the news came out that a lot of federal government workers will be losing their jobs, whether they're forced to get a buyout or whether they are terminated. And so I wanted to make sure to ask the administrator, are any of those jobs, maybe get a report to us to see if any of those jobs would be affected down here in this area, and if so, what services might be affected. If those jobs are affected, that's what our Southwest Regional Workforce Board, they send out a notice to say that these jobs have been lost, and what do we do? So I know that just came out today, so would like to know if there's any effects on us here in Hamilton County, and will it affect any services that we have, that we provide to the citizens? That's very important. In addition, I had a chance to speak, was a keynote speaker. I want to thank Bethel Baptist, Bishop Brian Walker. I was at his church in Walnut Hills and was keynote speaker, and had a great crowd, and I really enjoyed that. I also want to remind everyone that the 513 Relief Bus, which goes countywide, it's a mobile way of us bringing our services out of downtown, out of the silos, and into the communities throughout Hamilton County. Last year, we had almost 30,000 people be able to get connected to help and services. We also do free services for people in terms of their health, where we also now do a prostate screening at no cost, and we do cancer screenings and all of that on the bus. So we're excited about it being kicked back off for this year. It'll be February 27th, and it'll kick off at 10 a.m. at the Woodlawn Recreation Center. Last but not least, I know Commissioner Dumas has already spoken on the issue, and I won't belabor it. I did speak on it on Tuesday, asked the administrator to lead a thorough investigation with all the departments that are, all of the different police departments. The prosecutor's office got back with us, Connie Pillage, and said, thank you for including the prosecutor's office. They were looking forward to be a part of that. Lockland School Board now has come out and asked for an investigation because footage showed that the neo-Nazis were close to the school or on their property. And so they're looking for some help. So this is multi-generational, multi-agency, and we just want to make sure anything that I send it to the administrator. He'll have a running document and be able to work with everyone from the sheriff to the police departments to the school boards to the municipalities, the various mayors, et cetera, so we could get down to the bottom of it and hopefully not be a place of welcoming this type of messaging. My last thing I do want to add, I want to ask the administrator, because we had talked about it as it relates to the Bengals lease. Super Bowl is over, and now I'm sure that the conversations will then heat up about the Bengals lease that expires in 2026. It is a lease that has been upside down as it relates to the tax chip. It goes into future dollars, and certainly I am looking for us to get a win-win fair deal for the taxpayers, where the taxpayers aren't paying over 90% and on the hook for all the cost. With that being said, I know that at the State House, it was indicated the governor came with a potential proposal. I understand that may have been taken out already. And as they do at the State House, they're going to go back and forth. And we don't even know if that's going to be able to survive. However, I wanted to say that in our negotiations and how they work, we as commissioners, we're not, it has to be open meetings. So we're not in the negotiation. We're not eyeball to eyeball with the Bengals leadership. There are lawyers, and they are lawyers to lawyers, but I want to make sure that there's only 3 names that's on the contract, and that would be the county commissioners and then Mr. Aludo would sign on behalf. So with that, I take that very seriously. There's a contract that'll be coming up with a out-of-town group to come in, and they are coming in with expertise. And I want to be clear, I don't mind the expertise, but I understand that when this is over, they move on. We got to stay here. So in the renewal of the contract, before we renew it, I would like to get a more thorough report on what they did last year. And they may have done a lot of work, but I just think it's something that not just us, but the public needs to know. What did they do last year, and what is the scope of what we want them to do this year, so that we can be just transparent. What I've heard is that people went to the polls and voted for 2 stadiums. I supported it as well. But after they voted, they felt like behind the scenes there was a lease. And in that lease, there were a lot of things that the public is on the hook for that they may not want to be on the hook for. And when you look at that lease, everything from management we gave away to we're paying rent, they don't pay any rent, to the fact that we're paying the water bill, the gas, electric bill, the MSD bill. In addition, we're on the hook for real estate taxes if there are some. They just got approved from the state to be exempt from sales tax, and sales tax is how we pay for the stadium. So we've got a lot of things in there that are not so great, and we've got to work together to try to get a better deal on behalf of the taxpayers. So wanted to make sure I put that out and my colleagues knew that I'd asked for that contract, what did they do, and then this every step of the way in this process. It's a very tough process. So that's all that I have at this time. Thank you, Commissioner Treehouse.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I just have a couple of things. I, too, attended the Lincoln Heights meeting, and there were very high emotions, as you say, Commissioner Dumas. It was a very difficult meeting. We had neo-Nazis standing at an overpass in Cincinnati, Ohio, which is crazy. And there's a lot of fear in this community because of it, and it's a justified anxiety. And so we talked at our last meeting about having convening a meeting where we could get an update from different entities such as the sheriff, the prosecutor, Evendale, to give us an update as to what's going on and how we're going to move forward by way of a review of how it went, and if things could be done differently in the future if things weren't done to the satisfaction of the community. And so we'll have that meeting in a couple of weeks, but I did want people to know that we all have been part of those conversations, and the administrator is working to pull that meeting together. And thank you, Jeff, for your work on that. I attended an event about as far away as I think you can get from Anderson Township, which was over in North Bend, in the Cleves area. It was the William Henry Harrison birthday tribute that they do every year. As you know, the former president is buried over in North Bend in the tomb, and so they have this celebration every year, and they have a parade up to the tomb, and then they have an event. And so I've been doing this since I was a state rep, and so I went and participated in that ceremony, and they take it very seriously, and it's a kind of a solemn occasion. So anyway, glad to go to that. I'm thankful for the invitation. I did want to mention the One Ohio meeting. We had a One Ohio meeting, one of the regional meetings, and all of the grants for Region 2, which is where we are, have gone out. So that's the good news. The bad news is there isn't a second round in the process yet. It's coming, but we're going to have to wait for a minute until that round goes out. But we've had a great partnership with the individuals here in Anderson Township related to trying to reduce overdose deaths, get people into treatment and long-term recovery. And again, I'm very grateful to Trustee Stone's work on your behalf on the regional group, because it's really important that she's representing this area. And then lastly, I have the buy leave. So we got some calls not only from Anderson Township, but also from Columbia Township, from Whitewater Township, about what's happening at the state level related to the marijuana revenue. And so, Vicki, if you don't mind coming forward again, I can give an overview, but you're going to do a better job of that. And so we want to stand in solidarity with the communities that were participating and having, folks set up shop in their communities with marijuana dispensaries or, producers, and were promised that they would receive then a benefit from the state for participating in that. And evidently there is a bill in the Senate to remove that benefit. And so I'll speak for myself. I think there's broad support, but we want to stand with you and say something was promised and you deserve what was promised. And it very quickly turned around. And so if you would describe what's going on, and I have a resolution that I will offer then related to that.
Thank you so much for considering support for the township and for all the host communities. Issue 2 was placed before the voters in this state. And in Anderson Township, every precinct overwhelmingly supported issue 2, which allowed for adult use recreational cannabis. And part of the issue also provided that host community fees, that the communities that hosted dispensaries would receive a portion of the excise tax that was placed on adult use cannabis. For Anderson Township, our Board of Township Trustees, in my humble opinion, did the right thing. They allowed 3 dispensaries because that's what their voters, that's what their constituents told them they wanted. They wanted the ability to have adult use dispensaries in the community and to also be able to have that host community fee, which would allow this township to help offset property taxes, be it a situation where we extend our 1998 road and bridge levy or further extend our public safety levy to reduce the burden on our taxpayers through these host community fees. For our community, we were looking at approximately $1.5 million a year in revenue. And I know that there are other townships, other cities, other villages in this state that were also looking at that revenue, whether it is to build a fire station, to provide additional services to their residents. They all had unique needs. The issue that we have is Senator Huffman introduced a bill that would remove that host community fee. It would sweep it into the state's general revenue fund. From my personal opinion, this is the same thing that happened to Anderson Township when the racinos were developed. Anderson was one of 7 communities in the state of Ohio that had a horse racing track. It was River Downs. When the state initiated legislation to introduce video lottery terminals and create racinos, Anderson Township was the recipient of one of those racinos. We were promised a host community fee because we hosted that racino. And we received payments for 2 years, and then the state took the revenue and swept it into the state's general revenue fund. This is a situation where Governor DeWine has stated that he did not believe that the voters understood where the money was going to go, that they did not understand that the voters didn't understand the host community fee would remain in the community that hosted these dispensaries. Yet, Governor DeWine, Senator Huffman, and others are supportive of the will of the voters when it comes to allowing adult use recreational marijuana. Our contention is the voters knew, they read the issue, it was on the ballot, that the host communities would receive that funding. And we believe that it should remain in Anderson Township. As I said, our community intends to use it to help reduce the burden of property taxes for our residents. Oddly enough, there is a joint committee at the State House to try to find ways to reduce property taxes. Our community has a solution, we just need the revenue.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Thank you for offering the explanation. And as I said, I've been in contact, and I don't know if others have, with other communities that are in the same boat and asking us to do the same thing. So thank you for leading the charge on this. Commissioners, I'm going to make the motion, then offer opportunity to speak to this. So I'm going to make a motion to approve of by leave number 1, and this is a resolution in opposition of Senate Bill 56 as described.
Second.
And so let's have discussion then related to.
I agree that I will support that resolution.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I made some comments earlier, but I want to highlight something that you indicated, which is very important. The fact that the voters came out, and we're starting to see a lot of this, and it has to stop. We have the same situation where voters came out for the two stadiums and were told that they were going to get a 30% property tax rebate every single year. And they always seem to start off with 1 or 2 years and then hope you forget about it. And then all of a sudden it doesn't come back in. And I'm happy that, because we have to vote on it every year, but I'm happy that this year we were able to get the 30% from the county's portion. And in 2022, we were able to get, and I'm going to introduce it every year because that's what was promised. And we have to quit having these things on the ballot and say one thing to the voters, and then when the voters speak, we find loopholes, we find back doors in order to try to really screw over the taxpayers. Now, what you said was that this user fee, host fee, would help reduce property taxes, and I'm all for that. And so, again, I think we have to stand up because we cannot keep having things on the ballot where we tell the voters one thing, and then once they pass it, then elected bodies try to figure out a way to get amnesia or try to go through the back door and screw the taxpayers. So definitely I'm glad we're going to be on record standing in solidarity with the townships on this issue and any other issue that is passed by the voters that's supposed to bring money back home and they try to hold on to it. I'm going to support us standing up against it. So I'm happy to support this.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Dreehouse?
Yes?
Commissioner Summer Dumas?
Yes.
Commissioner Reese?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you again for your leadership on this. We're going to turn it over to the Administrator, Jeff Aluda.
Thank you, Commissioners. Just a couple of brief comments. I think all three Commissioners referenced the Lincoln Heights issue from this past week. As was mentioned, I am in the process of pulling together and coordinating the various questions that each commission office had, and we'll be using those to coordinate responses to those questions with the various agencies and entities that were involved on that over the last weekend. So be following up and staying in touch with each of your offices on those. Commissioner Reese had a question about the federal workforce reductions, and we are reaching out to READY to figure out what are the potential implications of that here locally. We don't know enough yet to know, but we will be working close with our chamber partners to figure out what that universe of workforce is here and who might be impacted. So we'll keep the board up to speed on that as well. And finally, Commissioners, we do have a delegation meeting coming up with our state delegation. We've talked a little bit about the state budget tonight and some state legislation. We just took action on an item related to a Senate bill. We've got our delegation meeting coming up. We are putting together an agenda for that meeting of some things that are critical from a county perspective and from a local perspective. Anson Turley on my staff will be coordinating that agenda. In the meantime, if there are things that the board feels very strongly about that should be included at the top of that list, please feel free to reach out directly to Mr. Turley, and he'll be happy to include that. We will get the board an agenda for review and comment as we normally do every year, and we'll probably wind up truncating that as we always start way too long and then have to whittle it down a little bit. But we'll work with your chiefs of staff to get that done when we get to that point.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jeff.
You're welcome.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Jeff, I heard earlier that possibly DeWine's proposal might have been already taken out, his proposal. What's the status of it?
Oh, I'm sorry. That would be on the sports gaming revenues. I think there is concern that it will be. I don't know that it has been yet formally taken out. I think that if that happens, it'll happen when it formally begins deliberation in the House. But I'm not aware of that specifically at this point in time. We are reaching out to our state delegation and other members of the delegation to express the county's position that is extremely important. It's very important for several reasons that that as is done in other communities where we've seen substantial stadium renovations, that it's not equitable for the locals, given the statewide economic impact that these facilities have for the local community to bear the full brunt of the burden, given the dollar magnitude of those renovations. So we think it's equitable for a state contribution from that perspective. And we also know that there is another team up north in Ohio that is planning either a renovation or a new build of a stadium, and we know that there has been conversation about contributions to that facility in Cleveland, and our position with our state legislators have been if there is something that is done in Cleveland, Hamilton County and Cincinnati should benefit equally or at least proportionately in terms of the state's contribution. So I'm not yet aware whether something has been pulled out or not. Commissioners, you may have information I don't have yet, but we'll certainly follow up with our government relations partners and see what the current status is.
Okay, and the governor's budget will be passed or not passed in May, around May?
The budget passes at the end of June.
The deadline is
Okay, I
June
knew it was-
30th, I believe,
okay,
yes,
yeah.
but if it could happen.
But it's
Yes.
not very close right now. It has to go through all the houses.
Correct, has to go through the House, Senate,
Okay.
Conference Committee, et cetera, right?
Commissioner, can I follow up on that part?
Yep.
What I had heard, what I had heard is that, and we'll get able to talk to our delegation when they get here, but my understanding is that it possibly would be pulled out and used in the conference committee because there are some other legislators that want to use those dollars possibly for something different. So of course we're in the early stages. The other thing is how the governor has put it in there. It's not like it's a line item that will definitely go to a certain amount of money for Cincinnati and Cleveland. They would have to put a commission board, not us. I wish it were us, but not us, but a board, and then they would go through it, and then they would look into it, then you have to apply for it. You know, we are under a tight timeline ourselves because the current lease that we have that's due to expire possibly in 2026, they have until June of this year. They may say, when I say the ownership of the Bengals can say that they would like to extend. They have up to possibly a total of 10 years to extend the current lease. And their deadline, I believe, is in June. So it's going to be real tight on us to know whether the state is in, and if they are in, for how much. So even if they pass the budget, it doesn't have a dollar amount. And I know all of us, and Jeff, we've been asking for a different financial deck because we can't go with the same deck we got now. We need the state to put in a large amount of money. So those are a lot of things with a lot of deadlines, and the state, as I remember it, it's going to be kind of interesting because everybody gets their hands on something, trying to get something, obviously, for their districts. So I did want to I guess when we have our delegation meeting, definitely that's a point that we would want to move on. And the other thing, Jeff, I wanted to just make sure, we have these questions and so forth, but we want to have a document that's available to the public answering those questions. So it won't just be us, it would be available for the whole county on what happened in the Lincoln Heights, Evendale community, and Lockland, actually now too. So just wanted to clarify that as well.
So, and let me just say that I attended the United Way breakfast last Friday, and most of the delegation was there, both from the House and the Senate side. And so we did have some conversations related to the governor's budget and this gambling revenue in the budget. And there was a little bit of confusion as to what it meant and who it was going to. And so I've been trying to make the rounds with the delegation to just make sure we're all operating with the same information, knowing that this revenue source is from gambling. First of all, it's 20% over what is already in for a gambling tax related to what they've done in the past, and it would go to athletic facilities throughout the state. So it's not relegated just to football stadiums, but rather all kinds of athletic facilities. We would hope that our stadium would get some of that revenue, just like Cleveland will, but there's more to come. And there are different ideas, according to the delegation, about how the state could participate in the financial stack, which is something we've all supported. So we have this delegation meeting coming up, but there was quite a bit of confusion about, what it meant in the governor's budget. So, and the importance really to Hamilton County and what it means to the taxpayers to have the state pick up a part of the cost for these renovations. So hopefully the confusion is not as widespread as it was, and we're still, and I know, Jeff, you've been making some of those calls too to make sure that we're all operating from the same playbook. So thank you, Commissioner, for bringing it forward. All right, we're going to move on to the consent agenda. And Jeff, I'm going to let you run through this. I do want to recognize just one thing. He left. I was going to recognize Eric Beck. And what another county-wide elected official. He's a groupie, really. We have nothing on the agenda for Eric Beck, and yet he's here. He lives in Anderson Township, so that's. I mean, he's one of your constituents. But anyway, I was just going to recognize that he was here, amongst other staff from the county. I don't know if you recognize them, but they're all towards the back of the room. So they're the ones that get the work done. So thank you all for being here as well.
Thank you, Commissioners. I will walk through the consent agenda briefly. Item number 1 on the consent agenda is a resolution appointing Brian Scheck to the Rural Zoning Commission. Item number 2 is a budget adjustment. This is a transfers in River City in our Department of Social Services and Justice Programming. And there is also the appropriation of grants here for the Clerk of Courts and the Sheriff. The total budget adjustment for all that is in the amount of $313,450. Item number 3 is a resolution that actually pertains to Anderson Township as well. This is authorizing the award of an invitation to bid and an agreement between BZAC Landscaping and Rumpke. This is for the operation of the county's yard waste drop-off sites. This is for a term of 2025 through 27. Total dollar value of $1.108 million. I believe the BZAC location is located on Turpin Lane, which is right off of Route 32 here in Anderson Township. So another nice partnership between the county and Anderson Township. Item number 4 is the authorizing the purchase of 1 Dodge Ram on behalf of the Sheriff's Office for $31,417. Item number 5 is a resolution accepting various purchase orders of the county in the amount of $455,141. 3 of these are for appraisal services, I believe through the county auditor. The 4th is for an elevator door equipment contract at Great American Ballpark. Item number 6 is accepting tax on a credit card sale for $25.03 through the Clerk of Courts. Item number 7 is a resolution authorizing the purchase of 2 Dodge Durangos for the Hamilton County Clerk of Courts, $78,422. We have multiple job and family services items. Commissioners, the first is just approving the use of credit cards for the department. Item number 9 is a resolution renewing an agreement with Agape for Youth for family placement services for $1.1 million. And for those who may be watching, especially in the township, as we walk through these are a lot of contracts that we do through Job and Family Services, many of which that you will be hearing relate to foster studies and the placement of children who are in the care of Job and Family Services. And we have multiple partners that we work with in order to place the number of kids in care that we have here in Hamilton County. So as I said, item 9 is family placement services with Agape for Youth. Item 10 is a renewal of an agreement with the National Youth Advocate Program for foster home study assessments and kinship assessments for $120,000. Item number 11 is a renewal with the Buckeye Ranch for foster home study assessments and kinship assessment services, $120,000. Item 12 is a renewal of an agreement with Ohio Mentor, Inc. for family placement services, $201,564. Item number 13 is a renewal with Lighthouse Youth Services for family placement services for $6.4 million. Item 14 is a renewal with the Bear Foundation for Family Placement Services, $448,844. Item 15 is a renewal with Angels Guarding Youth for Family Placement Services, $584,276. Item 16 is a renewal of an agreement with Beach Acres for Family Resource Placement Services, $3.029 million. Item 17 is renewal number 2 with Focus on Youth for Family Placement Services, $1.754 million. Item 18 is renewal number 1 with New Path Family Solutions for independent living services for children who are contract to help them with independent living. That is for $3.09 million. Then we have an item with the Sheriff Commissioners. This is item 19, reporting no objection to 1 liquor permit on Galbraith Road. And we have an item with the coroner requesting travel at the county's expense, 2 employees to Baltimore, Maryland. This is for the American Academy of Forensic Sciences annual conference. With that, Commissioners, happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Jeff. I just want to put a finer point on the idea that so many of these agenda items are related to JFS, and it highlights the fact that we have a lot of youth in this community going into either kinship care or foster care or adoptive care, and the needs of these youth are increasingly challenging. And it's very expensive to address some of the needs. So I do want to put a finer point on it, because I think as you read through all of those dollar amounts, it's very obvious that this is a very high priority for the county commission and for the citizens of the county, and it is getting more difficult to address the needs of some of the youth, multi-system youth that we have in our community. But thank you for those explanations. Commissioner Summer Dumas?
Just one comment about item 7. Jeff, I had asked about the replacement schedule on vehicles, knowing very well that the sheriffs and other departments have to replace it, but I would like to see what their schedule is. Lots of 25s on here.
Happy to do, Commissioner, happy to do that. We are working on some information for you in that regard at a very high level. I can tell you, had the purchasing department review past years and reported back today that it looks like we're replacing around 20 to 25 vehicles a year through the sheriff's office, which is a replacement rate of around 7 to 8%. There's around 319 vehicles in the sheriff's office, a mixture of regular vehicles, patrol vehicles, and undercover vehicles. But we'll get you a little bit more information on the protocol by which they go about replacing those in terms of mileage, years, et cetera.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Commissioner Reese?
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you. Item number 10, and it may be on some of the other documents, I haven't had a chance to review it, needs to maybe possibly be updated. It says, be it further resolved that the clerk of the board is hereby directed to certify copies of this resolution to Jeffrey Aludo, County Administrator, and Dusty Rhodes, County Auditor.
Well, that does
Yeah, I
need to
think
be
that needs to be updated.
I
Yes.
love you, Dusty, but it's Jessica Miranda now. So if we can, I don't know if it's on any other ones, but that
I'm not
needs
sure,
to
but
be.
we will check, Commissioner, and make sure
Thank you.
those are updated.
It's haunting us. All right. With no further ado, I'm going to move that we approve of consent agenda items 1 through 20.
Second.
Commissioner Dreehouse?
Yes.
Commissioner Summer Dumas?
Yes.
Commissioner Reese?
Yes.
Thank you. If there's nothing else to
I
come.
have one.
Oh, go
item.
ahead. Mhm.
Yeah. I wanted to publicly acknowledge the workers who got the Big Mac Bridge done.
Oh, yeah.
I really wanted to do it while Eric was here, and it just really touched my heart. I know it was their job. I know they had to do it. I know I admire their fortitude. As I watched them do it, I'm scared of heights, but anyway, they missed 3 holidays. I counted them up. They were 100 days, not ahead of the time, but they finished in 100 days, but it was ahead of the time. And so I just really wanted to thank them. And the gratitude, they missed their families, they were in the rain, the snow, and everybody can say that's their job. But I did purchase about a couple hundred thank you pins and had my chief of staff take them down to let them know that we appreciate them. I never used the Big Mac Bridge, but I knew what headaches it was for other people, and I've heard other people talk on the news or whatever that they really thank them, and I just want them to know publicly how much I thank them.
Yeah, that's very nice. Yeah, thank you. I should announce that the State of the County is coming up. You're all invited. It's February 26th. Doors open at 5. Speech at 6. We'll keep it as short as possible down at Memorial Hall, but you're all invited to attend. It's riveting. The State of the County is riveting, everyone. So please attend if you're available. With that, I'm going to offer a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Commissioner Dreehouse?
Yes.
Commissioner Summer Dumas?
Yes.
Commissioner Reese?
Yes.
Thank you.